Gordon's alive.
Gordon's alive.
Hey, guess what I had today?
Syphilis.
No, that was last week. Today, I had my first mince pie.
Ooh.
My first mincer.
Even though mince pies are obviously just a legit food that you can make and eat, it still annoys me when I see mincers on the table.
Yeah.
Like pre-December. There's something just wrong about it.
Oh, massively.
What annoys me.
When was it? It was about, it would have been before this new lockdown. I went to see Joe. The Sons of Pitches had a thing, and I went to Solihull to do some work, and Cassia had made some mince pies, but it was like the end of October, start of November. Yeah. And I just flat out said no. I was like, I'm not going to eat one now. They look really nice. They do look great, but I'm not going to eat one. I just refused.
Oh my goodness. Hang on, she made them.
She made them.
And you refused. I don't think that, I think normally that could be rude, but actually under the circumstances, I think you've done all right. I think that's the correct decision. I
think because I'm comfortable with her as a friend, I was more than happy to turn her down. But if I'd been a guest at someone, someone that I didn't know, or maybe the chef of a minor celebrity had made them and served me them up and was kind of had them on a platter, I would obviously say yes. But because it was Cassia and she's on a friendly basis, I was more than happy to say no, thank you, you idiot.
Did she retort by saying, but it's Thanksgiving and these can just be for...
No. I've just realised that last week's podcast and this week's have started with us bashing Cassia about Thanksgiving or Christmas. That's a sad coincidence.
First of all, stop going on about it. Second of all, your minces are too early.
It was too early. They look delicious, but I'm not going to eat one. But yeah, I had my first one today and it was absolutely superb and I can't wait to eat more.
Good stuff.
They're just an excellent food stuff and one of my favourite aspects of the festive period.
Considering, I think I've left it too late. I was considering making my own nog of the egg variety, but you need to leave it for a month.
What?
So I think I've screwed it.
What? Why did it ferment or something?
Well, yeah, you kill all the bacteria by leave it. I can't remember what the process was. I'd have to look up my recipe.
God, I wouldn't want to leave any egg-based product for a month. That sounds disgusting.
To be fair, I reckon Brad Leone's salted egg yolks are still stuck to that wall in the test kitchen after a year.
Oh my God, they definitely will be. That I wasn't comfortable with that, to be honest. The salted fermented egg yolks.
That was grim. I like the fact it was.
To be fair, anything to do with eggs, I'm just generally not on board with.
Did you not like the idea of those hardened, dehydrated egg yolks?
No,
that you could grate as an alternative parmesan.
Oh, I suppose as an alternative parmesan, I'm on board with that. But just to eat by itself, I'd be no,
that'd be grim.
No, thank you.
But the idea of shaving it over some pasta is actually quite nice. But also, parmesan exists. Do you know? So it's
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also it's not like it's a vegan alternative. So who are you helping?
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, good stuff with the mince pies. Happy that they're happening.
God, every single it's December, every single episode is going to be an introduction, just food chat, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm happy with that. It's the only thing that kind of keeps me happy at this time of year because it's cold, it's dark, it's miserable. I'm miserable.
Christmas is a depressing, miserable, dark time.
Essentially, yes, that's what we're saying.
Great. What a message.
But having said that, we've just started planning what our Christmas... Well, I say we've started planning it. We've talked about planning our Christmas episode, haven't we? Which is a fun thing. Yeah,
start piecing that one together. It might be. It's probably going to be a 3-hour epic. No, well, it could be. It could easily be. We'll see. We'll see what rabbit holes we go down.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, look forward to hearing more news on that soon. But in the meantime, I guess we should start this baby off, the episode 21. What do you think? Do you think that's a solid idea to start the episode, maybe?
Yeah, I reckon. Let's open that first window of the December Pushing Buttons advent calendar and crack open the delicious treat within.
The moulded body of a snowman in chocolate form chew it once, chew it twice, chew it thrice, and push a button. Oh, God. It's pushing buttons. The wheels have come off, Mark. The wheels have come off. It's long gone. It's just a carriage grinding along the hard tarmac. Welcome to episode 21 of Pushing Buttons, the video game podcast. We talk about our fun times playing games and our opinions on all of the above. Welcome, everybody, to episode 21. The podcast is now legal drinking age in America. So... All of the filthy Yanks out there listening to the podcast, raise a glass to the pod. And if I had an alcoholic beverage here, I'd do the same, but sadly I don't.
You're still nursing that delicious coffee.
I actually finished it off. Oh, there's a tiny sip. It's cold, but I'll have it. Yeah, before the podcast, I made myself a delicious coffee. I was on a bit of an empty stomach, so I got the shakes, which doesn't normally happen to me, but I had to down a banana in 5 seconds flat to sort of equal out my level. I downed it.
Down your banana, 2 pound your banana.
Oh, yeah. That's good. Pound your banana. Is that Boosh?
Yeah, it's Boosh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I can... Sidetrack, I want to show Lorna, my girlfriend, all of the Mighty Boosh, because she's never watched it, but she loves Noel Fielding, mainly through the British Bake Off when he used to appear on Big Fat Quiz of the Year, but she's never actually watched his own oeuvre. So I want to treat her to the delights of the Mighty Boosh, which is just one of the best TV shows ever created. First 2 series, anyway. The third had some good moments, but the first 2 were excellent.
Third was a bit too dark in places, went a bit weird.
It got very dark. And it became a little bit too aware of what made it successful. You know, like when shows like, they like these catchphrases or they like this thing that we do. They started repeating things that they had already done, and it was like, yeah, they've caught on now.
The live show was good though in Brixton.
Oh, the live shows were so good. Yeah, I saw their first one live in Birmingham. The one with that was basically the Tundra.
Yeah.
That's so good. If any of you haven't seen The Mighty Boosh, go watch it.
It's great.
Fooling yourselves. You've played yourself. Mark, I've got some great news to start this episode off.
Tell us.
I woke up yesterday and I had a message from a friend saying that they had told 5 people about the podcast.
Yes.
And not just any friend, but a friend that lives in Sweden, Mark. So... we're going to be big in the Scandinavian market all of a sudden.
Fantastic.
So all of this means, I'm not saying this for no reason, all of this means that finally the dirty scumbag himself, Jiggy Josky Jetty, who has been plaguing the podcast for months now with his name, is finally been dethroned as the MVL. And we have a new one.
Yes.
And his name is Joe Anderson or Joseph Anderson, whatever he prefers. I've always known him as Joe Anderson or Janders or Janderson, one of those names. I know he's a bit of a gamer. I remember he had a sweet PC setup when we were at uni together. Joe, thank you so much for telling 5 people about this podcast. It means a lot to us. We loved you, Jiggy, but it was time for you to move on and abdicate the throne. So shall we listen to a jingle for our new MVL, Mark?
Yes, please.
He went away to Sweden to start a new life for himself. But don't you dare to even try to compare yourself to Joe Anderson. Joe Anderson, 'cause he is nice.
Right, I'm just going to pretend that it was good. Wow, that was great. What a jingle.
Yes, mate. I know, right? What a jingle! All of the music in it, especially, was one of my favourite things.
I really enjoyed the sound.
Yeah, very sort of aural experience, wasn't it?
Very much born of sort of vibrations.
Sonically pleasing.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, it's wonderful stuff. Thank you so much, Joe Anderson, for being our new MVL. I'll get round to writing your jingle when this podcast is finished recording. I'm sure it was fantastic. Thanks, Joe. If any of you would like to dethrone Joe, I mean, I'd be very surprised if it happens already. All you need to do is tell 5 people about this podcast and tell me or Mark that you've done it. Take a screenshot of how you've done it. We just need proof in some way that you have done it. I believe Joe did an Instagram post with 5 people. Thanks, Joe. You're a solid bloke and an even better golfer. I don't know if he does play golf. I doubt he plays golf, actually. Just wanted to say it.
Okay. What games have you been playing this week? I think we'll probably jump through this very quickly because for me, it has not changed.
Yeah, no, it hasn't changed for me either, Mark, because I am absolutely nuts deep in the role-playing world of Final Fantasy VIII still. Oh my God, I love this game. I'm on disc 2 now. I'm about a quarter of the way through disc 2. I've just unlocked the summon Leviathan.
Does the digital version tell you?
So basically on the save game, when you save your game, it tells you what disc you're on, basically. But obviously, there are no discs involved as it's the digital version. I'm still absolutely loving that game. And the good thing is that it's been so long since I've played it that I've totally forgotten the plot of it. So it's quite nice rediscovering all of that again. And it's just made me realise how much I love RPGs and turn-based RPGs, and I just want to keep going now. And we're going to be talking about CyberPunk this episode, spoiler alert, and it's just got me hyped for more RPG. Obviously, it's a totally different style of RPG, but I just love leveling up those characters, Mark, and having conversations with people within the game. NPCs, you might call them.
I would. You're right. I would call them that. That's accurate.
It is accurate, isn't it? Yeah, so I've been enjoying Final Fantasy VIII still. It's an excellent game. And once I've finished it, I might have to go and do some of the other ones again. And I've played a little bit of Apex Legends, and I played it for literally like 2 hours yesterday with my brother because he has now got it on his computer gaming setup. I think that's about it. I've just been, like I said, loads of Final Fantasy. I've been so busy with other things that I haven't been able to put enough time into gaming as I want. A little bit of Tetris here, a little bit of Peggle there as well because they're good. Dipper in us. So yeah, that's all I've been playing, Mark.
Yeah, mine's not changed.
How about you?
Not changed. More Hyrule Warriors, chipping away, and Risk of Rain, just chipping away at like those unlocks and little achievements and stuff. But yeah, having a lot of fun. The only other sort of thing was I have Tabletop Simulator, which is what it sounds like. So I went in and I hadn't used it before. So I literally went in with my friend Luke and we were just like, let's just play like simple games just to like get a handle on it. And we played like Guess Who and Uno and Battleship and just like really like
very simple games.
Standard.
I wasn't expecting you to say like that simple.
Well, yeah, it was just to like, because I think it probably is very, what's the word, intuitive when you get into it, like to actually use. But I just wanted to do something where it was like, I don't have to think about the rules of a game as well as how to use Tabletop Simulator.
Yes. Should we see what the news of the world is all about? I'm not referring to the newspaper, the news of the world. I'm talking about the news of the video games world that me and you have gone out to find out some tidbits from.
Spoiler alert, there ain't none. Well, there's a little bit, but it's mostly techie stuff. We said this last week. It's just a lot of like small tidbits that like aren't interesting to 85% of us.
I'm guessing we'll have some more to say in the coming weeks because there are normally some announcements before the end of the year, and obviously the video game awards are coming up at some point soon and they tend to have trailers and all the like for new announcements. So it's a bit of a weird quiet time. It's sort of people are fixing bugs with the next-gen consoles. Also, you've got the new GPUs coming out, so there's lots of chat about them. But there's nothing really there's not been any huge game announcements, really, have there?
No, not really. Nothing to actually tickle your balls and get excited with. So on that note, rush through these first two. They're both NVIDIA-related. They've released a new GPU that you can't get your hands on.
Oh.
So that's great. The RTX 2060 Ti. looks to have the same sort of performance as an RTX 2080 from the previous generation, but for less money, so around $400.
So when you say you can't get your hands on it, is that because the stock is already run out?
Yeah, I think so. You can't. I mean, that's related to the next piece of news. There just aren't any, because bots, scalpers, and for this next piece of news, where apparently Nvidia's financial reports suggest that they've been selling a percentage of their RTX 3080s and 70s specifically to Ethereum miners. Now, you remember, I don't actually know what Ethereum is, but you remember what Bitcoin is.
Yes.
Well, you use GPUs to mine Bitcoin. This is a similar thing.
Right.
So I don't really know why they are selling to Ethereum miners. I don't know if it's to benefit them in any way. I've absolutely no clue. But it probably makes the difference of a good percentage of the market in each country or continent being able to buy a GPU and not being able to buy a GPU. So it's
why is that sort of part of their sort of public stock? Shouldn't that just be like a stock that is sort of not disclosed, and the sort of extra stock if they're just selling them on to non-public? That's bizarre.
I don't understand it, but basically they were just like, we've got loads, we've got plenty, but I don't know whether they account for all these bots and third-party people that go ahead and buy 2,000 of them and sell them at profit. I don't know. I don't think they're selling this for business reasons. They probably have people approach them who want them, and they're just yeah, whatever.
Yeah, okay, right.
But obviously, for consumers, that's useless.
It's garbage. It's not very pro-consumer.
The people that would actually buy these can't have one.
It's sad, and it's happening in a console market as well with PS5s specifically. A lot of scalpers buying them up, and it's just sad to see a whole lot of profiteering going on, and also in a time when people need things to get excited about and happy about, and the fact that people are just buying them up in bulk to make a quick dollar. It's just sad to hear. But a less thing and an excellent funny thing is apparently Xbox Series X is an excellent PS2. Oh well, X and S apparently is an excellent PS2 emulator, and the Xbox are investigating why third-party games seem to be outperforming on PS5. So that's sort of two separate points there. The first of which, that both the Xbox Series consoles you're able basically to boot them up in a sort of developer mode or something like that, akin to that. And you can sort of get ROMs working and access a Windows platform through them. And people have started emulating games on it. So you can't play backwards compatible games on a PS5, but you can emulate them on an Xbox, which is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I just assumed people just went, just put the disc in, see what happens. What?
That would have been mad. Can you imagine just slot in the original Hitman 2 from PS2 into your Xbox? That would be joyous. But yeah, the other parts of that, so Xbox are investigating why third-party games are sort of outperforming their performances on Xbox on PS5. I said that in a terrible way. But what people are saying is that because Xbox has is it RDNA or RNDA?
RDNA.
I think it's RDNA 2 capabilities that aren't being utilized yet. Things aren't optimized for RDNA 1 on Xbox or something like that. That's something I read somewhere. And it's just interesting, obviously, because a lot of their sales pitch was, it's the most powerful console. It's the most powerful console. Pure power. And that was really their selling point. And so far, anyway, things like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion, I think was another one, seem to be performing better on PS5. So, interesting.
Yeah, mixed bag. I mean, they're both having little issues. I'm seeing stuff about PS5 RAM heat problems.
Oh?
It's just funny little ghosts in the machine.
It's just teething problems, isn't it, for them? And they're both consoles seem to be releasing update and hopefully some bug fixes for both of them. And you've got to remember that both of these consoles were made, developed and shipped during the COVID times, so there's bound to be some issues along there somewhere.
Speaking of updates, we always complain that Nintendo never have any sort of big updates or anything like that. Well, folks, we've got it here with Nintendo Firmware Update 11.0.0. It is available now.
Yeah.
And get ready for this because it adds Brazilian Portuguese language to the console. Yeah, as well as a new copy to PC via USB connection feature that was added so you can now copy screenshots and videos across to your computer. So
I love that. It's like plugging in an iPod back in like 2009
yeah.
to put music on it. It's like that kind of I think I also saw that you can, via scanning a QR code on your smartphone, you can sort of transfer things to your phone as well. It's not something I've ever really worked. I mean, if I ever want to share a screenshot from my Switch, which is probably like never, but if I do, there is already an option to just share it straight to Twitter, which I've done before and is fine. Yeah. So if there's people, I suppose if you're the kind of person that does video content, it'll make your life easier if you can send videos straight from your Switch to your phone, I suppose, or copy it to your PC. So it's a way of recording content. It's not very exciting news, and I just want something better from Nintendo, please. It's all a little bit crap and quiet from Nintendo.
Sort it out. So yeah, so for all of you Brazilian Portuguese people out there, you've got what you wanted.
And we'll finish the news. I mean, this just goes to show what a slow news day it is. We'll finish off with a fun one. We've got the story from the folks over at IGN. I don't know if people even knew this was a thing, but basically, when Pokemon cards were a huge thing in the late 90s and early noughties, there wasn't a Kadabra card. You couldn't get one. And this was because Uri Geller basically said he sued Nintendo back in 2000 and asked that Kadabra, the word Kadabra, no longer appeared on Pokemon cards due to the similarity of Kadabra's spoon. And as you know, Uri Geller is famed for bending spoons, and Kadabra in Japan is written as Jungera or Jungela, which both sort of sound similar to Geller, so Uri Geller's name. So he sued Pokemon for it and said, you can't put Kadabra on Pokemon cards and let you do it, which is funny enough to start off with. Anyway, now, after 20 years, Uri Geller has said, you know what? I'm going to give Pokemon permission to use Kadabra again. And he came out with this inspiring quote, I am truly sorry for what I did 20 years ago. Kids, grown-ups, I am releasing the ban. It's now all up to Nintendo to bring my Kadabra Pokemon card back. It will probably be one of the rarest now. Much energy and love to all. I love that, much energy. I reckon this is all part of a long game from Uri Geller. I reckon he bought up all of the stock back in the year 2000 of the Kadabra cards and put the ban in place. And now he's allowing them to be used again. He's just going to sell them all at a very, very high price.
Yeah. It will probably be one of the rarest cards now.
Yeah, so exactly.
Right?
Yeah. You're right. It's probably going to be rare now, I reckon. Yeah, probably. Yeah, very, very funny. Well done, Uri Geller for overturning that ban. Strange news in the world of video games.
Great stuff.
Thanks, Yuri. Appreciate that.
And there endeth the news. It's that's it. Slow news week.
Probably the worst news week we've ever had.
Yeah, I reckon so. But it's all that sort of post console release, pre-Christmas, nothing.
It is. It's a bit of a dirge.
Yeah. Anyway, so last week's episode was about Mass Effect and our expectations, or rather, what we want from a new one that has been rumored.
Well, it's been announced that they're doing it. They're going to do it.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We've had a little bit of feedback on that from our dear friend Lawal, who has got in touch saying, Dear Mark and Joe, how are you both doing? Hope you're keeping well. I really enjoyed the Mass Effect chat.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed the Mass Effect chat this week. I was trying to think back and remember what I loved about the games in this series. Mass Effect 1. Sense of exploration and discovery. In the future, I'd like them to replace the common planet scanning minigame with rarer planetary exploration to reflect approaches taken by No Man's Sky, hopping down on surface on away missions, whilst limited in variety was one of the things that excited me most. Mass Effect 2, building a meaningful team and making tough choices. Would like, for example, some scenario around leveling up squad mates, having to balance the strengths of the team with the protection/defense of the ship and crew.
Interesting.
Mass Effect 3, weirdly, I don't remember anything standout aspects of this part of the trilogy. Keep serving up the waffle and congrats on surpassing podcasting adolescence.
We're 21 now.
21.
Yeah, and I like what he said there about sort of leveling up squad mates and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Sort of akin to having your ideal party in like a Final Fantasy game and that sort of thing. You know, you pick your best teammates and you level them up. I like that idea. Bring more of again, like we were saying in the last step, some heavier RPG elements.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I can see them doing away with the whole planet scanning mini game thing because it's just tedious.
It was long. Yeah. I mean,
there needs to be something that's outside of the usual gameplay and outside of the side quests and stuff, because I do think RPGs are often at their best when they have some other elements for you to be doing that kind of distracts you from the main storyline. But yeah, just scanning planets.
Firing a probe.
Don't know.
Even though it was a great sound effect. Just that. Like, that was great, but like...
That was really good, man. That was really precise.
I might see if I can go find the sound effect and we can compare it.
Yeah, please do.
Probe away.
Yeah, apart from the sound effect being great and very like zen in the moment, it was boring, man. It was tedious.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I think it's hard with the whole going and landing on planets sort of thing, just because they're not going to generate the entirety of a planet's surface like they do in No Man's Sky, but it will be like you land on a certain part of the planet and there's something to find. It's just a hard thing
depends how long they
to
develop
get right.
it for. Like, they could turn it into what they want.
Well, I suppose so. I mean, it could be more like No Man's Sky, where it is literally you can
be a
fly
limited
the ship
number
off
of planets.
the planet.
Because when you think about it, in Mass Effect 2, it's not like, you know, Elite Dangerous and No Man's Sky, where it's like supposedly infinite.
Yeah.
So once you've done a planet, you've done it. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's hard because with the whole sense of, you know, space exploration, the final frontier, you do want to get a sense of I can just go and find planets and I can go and explore the entirety of this planet.
Bellum,
but at the same time,
majesty,
scope, yes, Her Majesty. But at the same time, it's a very, you know, it's a story. It's I was saying last week, the story is the thing that's most important. So I would rather they focus on that. But yeah, thanks for the email and the feedback there, Lowell. Appreciate it. If anyone else has more to say about what they would like for the next Mass Effect game, or where they would like it to be set, like we were having a good debate about whether it would be a prequel, whether it would come after the original trilogy, if it's a sequel to Andromeda, all of this sort of chat. Let us know when you would ideally like it to be set.
So I give them the email.
Yeah, just shove it out now.
Yeah, pushingbuttonspod@gmail.com for all that sort of thing. Or you know, Twitter, Instagram. We'll go through that later. But yeah, just give
any of those. Any of those. Just let us know what you think. Or if you've never played Mass Effect and don't give a damn, you can also tell us that. So that brings us to another big RPG and probably one of the most anticipated games of the last
7 years. That's when they announced it.
Yes, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're sort of in the new generation now, but I would say it's the most en masse because it is a cross-platform game. it is the most anticipated cross-platform game for as long as I can remember, really. I'm trying to think of the last one that was as big as this.
Well, I mean, I suppose there is Red Dead, but I think that was a small interest. GTA 5, Skyrim. I don't think even Fallout 4 was as big as Skyrim in terms of the hype.
No. Well, I mean, I suppose there was probably a lot of anticipation going into Fallout 4 just because 3 was so huge.
I don't know.
But I don't know. Well, obviously, we are talking about CyberPunk, hugely anticipated game. And we thought we'd just, as it is now only, I think on the day of recording, we're about 9 days off it being released on the 10th of December. Yeah. As we're so close to it coming out and it is such a huge game, we thought we'd have a little chat about sort of where we stand with it, what our hopes are for it, how we feel about it in general with all of the sort of press and publicity that has been released up until now. So I suppose the first question, it's a simple one. Are we going to get it? And if we're going to get it, when are we going to get it?
Nah.
Mark, are you going to get it? Nah. Was that a nah?
Nah.
Okay. You're saying
I'm getting it. Day one. I'm going to preload it.
So let me ask you this. What has made you say I'm getting this? I know it might be quite an obvious question, but I'm thinking, is it, for example, is it based on the pedigree of CD Projekt Red that has made you so sure about getting it?
Yeah, it's multifaceted. It's definitely that because just to go back to The Witcher, I'm sure we'll be referencing Witcher all the way through this discussion, to be honest with you. But I played quite a while back. I went and played The Witcher. This is years after the first Witcher came out. And I've tried to replay that game maybe 3 times. Sometimes I just struggle to play like older games and like struggle with the age of it and that sort of thing. But I could see it was a good game. There was good characterization and the worlds were great. But I just was like, it's just a bit old. I can't really be bothered to put time in it. And I was just like, well, that's a shame. I've kind of missed out on this. Mm-hmm. And then I picked up Witcher 2 really cheap and hated it. I got about 40 minutes in. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like it was so complicated. It was so overly complicated. The tutorial was awful. And I was just like, I can't hack this. I'm sorry, I'm out.
So the combat and exploration was just difficult? Just
anything, menuing and combat and like potions and like picking stuff up and crafting. I was just like, I'm 40 minutes in and I'm out. So, and this is, bear in mind, I was trying this game well within the life cycle of Witcher 3 being out. Mm-hmm. So fast forward, I don't know how long. One of my friends was like, have you played Witcher 3? Because he was like, just finished it or something. I was like, no, I can't be bothered. Like 1 looked great, but I've left it. And 2, I couldn't get on with. He was like, no, forget that. There's nothing like it. So and that was my experience with 3, was just blown away. So based on that and the DLC being as strong as it is, the world building, the characterizations, all of that, based on that alone would be enough for me to be interested in anything that CD Projekt Red were going to be making. Mm-hmm. The other factor is this is a game that was announced 7 years ago. I can't pretend like I was super excited by the original trailer. I can't remember what the music was, but it was essentially like a robotic woman, like sort of half naked with like, it is like, I can't remember what the scene was, but she's on the floor, like with blades out of her arms and like her like parts of her face like detached and all this kind of thing. It was very like futuristic. They didn't lean into the 80s vibe too much, but you could see there was some sort of synth wave vibe going on. So it was like intriguing enough to be like, oh, what's this? Look into that. I suppose it did its job as a trailer. But part of it is just the fact that it's been 7 years in the making. What have they been doing for 7 years? That has meant that they needed an extra, however many, 6 months and an extra 2 weeks to finish the game off. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
reckon a good 5 years of it was spent on the character design tool where you can customize the shape of their teeth.
Yeah. Oh my God. So, like, it's 7 years in the making. It's CD Projekt Red. I can't not take a look at this. Do you know what I mean? And I love big RPGs. I love these big sprawling adventure games. And I think this one, I don't want this to sound like marketing hype, but it's my perspective of it. I think this one will be very different, like genuinely very, very different, because We're used to the Bethesda way of doing things, for better or worse, but we know how those sort of function and feel to sort of adventure around. And there have been other games in its class that have tried or failed to do similar things or take its own path and not become a big franchise. And The Witcher came along and just went, well, what about one that is really solid on character and story? Less on the adventuring sort of vibe, but just like super solid and huge, and did it differently. Not everyone's cup of tea. That's totally fair enough. But that was incredible. This one, this is something that's going to be nothing like Fallout, because it's a different setting for a start, but it's going to be way more story intensive and dramatic, a completely different world. And also, we've seen how the combat looks. We've seen how the driving looks. It's not going to be anything like Fallout. It's going to be a very different experience. There will probably be ways it's designed that you can sort of link back to your experience in The Witcher, but it's not going to be anything like Witcher. So it's those three things. We've been waiting so long. It's going to be so different to the other sort of big RPGs and even GTAs and things that we wait for and love to play. And it's CD Projekt Red, man. I want to see what they've been up to all these years. What about you?
I totally agree. A lot of your stuff you said then rang. I just bit my tongue slightly. A lot of the stuff that you said then rang true with me, I reckon. I'm getting it on the day it comes out. I'm hoping so anyway. Yeah. My brother pre-ordered it for me for my birthday. Shout out Jamie Bellham. I know you're listening. Thank you so much.
That's nice.
And Anita. Congrats on the baby. Just saying things now. And yeah, it should be coming on the 10th of December, day one, if I'm assuming it was Amazon, if everything goes to plan.
Yeah.
Who knows though? We will see about that. But I need this game because, similar to you, I trust in the Holy Saviour, CD Projekt Red, as they have an excellent track record. And I played The Witcher 3 and it is superb. But a lot of the reason why I'm really looking forward to this game is because it just reminds me of so many things I love in games I've played before, one of which being the aesthetic, that sort of 1980s vision of the future that you kind of get from stuff like Blade Runner. And other things like that. I just love that futuristic, like neon. Well, it is called CyberPunk. It's like sort of steampunk but futuristic. The aesthetic, I love it. So yeah, things like that. In Blade Runner reminds me of that. But also the gameplay and the RPG and dialogue elements. We talked about Mass Effect last week. Similarities there, but also it reminds me quite a lot of Deus Ex, which was a game that I massively loved and my brother really loved as well for the PC, the original one back in the day. Obviously that game had a lot of sort of cyborg augmentations you could make to your body to improve yourself in various facets of combat, exploration and chat and bartering and all that kind of thing. So there's sort of lots of typical elements that I know I enjoy from what I've sort of seen from the publicity, whether that be Nightwire or trailers, whatever it is. There's things that I know that I like from what I've seen. And I'm just really so ready to get too nuts deep into an RPG world for the next few months. How many nuts do you expect? I said, mate. Do you not like the phrase "too nuts deep"?
It just made it feel a bit much.
Yeah, it was a bit like, for some reason, like listing the amount of nuts I have definitely makes it slightly more graphic.
I feel like we can roll over being balls deep, because you just kind of go through that and it's fine. Too nuts deep is too much, just too much emphasis.
Just tad much.
Much.
I hear what you're saying, man.
Yeah.
I just know I'm going to love it. It's just got so much I love that I love the exploration, how rich and populated the world looks to be. That is sort of like a GTA, but with all of the elements of games that I prefer than GTA. Like don't get me wrong, I love GTA 5 and I love GTA games, but all of the RPG elements and those sort of CD Projekt Red things that they've done so well with the Witcher 3 are just going to mean that I love this. I hope I'm going to love this game. So yeah, I'm hoping to get it on day one, and that's why I needed it in my life, bud.
Yeah, we've been waiting long enough.
Yeah, flipping heck. And yeah, I want it to be. I mean, in an ideal world, it's going to have a lot of the things that made The Witcher 3 great, but with the sci-fi aesthetic, with the populated world of a GTA, with the dialogue options of a Mass Effect, and hopefully with some good shooting and some good combat mechanics. And I suppose for me, that's the big question mark at the moment, is how is the combat going to feel? Because we've seen hints at it, and we've seen, what guns are going to be used. But I wouldn't say I might be wrong. We might have missed it in some of the Nightwires that we haven't seen. But I feel like we haven't seen like an extensive combat section from start to finish to kind of give us a good idea of how that movement is going to feel, how the gunplay and weaponry is going to feel.
Yeah, they allowed like influencers and other people, YouTubers and that sort of thing, to play the game and post footage. Which you can go find. I've not done that purposefully because I want most of the game to be a surprise and to kind of figure it out for myself. Yeah, the thing they did on the Nightwire was more of a, hey, look, here are weapon types. And it was like, cool, that's nice to know. Rather than, here's how it feels to be a cyberpunk or whatever.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because obviously it's very different to swordplay and magiques. So that'd be great.
Is that genuinely how it's pronounced, Magique?
No, I just...
Oh, okay.
It's a bit of flair.
It was a bit of... You flexed on it. I didn't know if you just knew the Witcher lore better than me. Magique.
It's like called... what's Witcher magic called? It's actually... I've forgotten. Witcher magic...
Is it not just signs?
Signs, that's it. Signs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's actually... One of the Witcher's strength is that... Is it was very much its own thing. It didn't actually feel like the other offerings we've had. It didn't play like a Bethesda Elder Scrolls. It didn't feel like a Mass Effect. So I know what you're saying in terms of, I love these things from these other games. And obviously there will be similarities in the sense that, yes, they are RPGs, and yes, there will be talking and characters. But actually, one of its strengths is it's probably going to feel so different to anything we've ever played, which sounds a bit hypey, but like I genuinely think that will be true, because of what we've experienced with The Witcher 3 and the way they handled it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it's going to be great.
I think the thing that I'm so confident in is the sense of immersion that we're going to get. I feel like feeling as though we are, and I know it's a cliche thing, feeling like we are in Night City. That's what the Nightwires, the little videos they've been putting out, have done such a good job of setting up the scene and setting up Night City. And I know I'm going to be immersed. And I know there's going to be so much to explore and find and uncover, and I'm going to love that. But I think the only missing piece of the puzzle is just knowing if I'm going to love the just the core gameplay loop and the mechanics of combat and how that's going to work. But I mean, from everything I've heard, the combat isn't really their main focus, and that it's there isn't loads of time spent on combat and violent encounters and that sort of stuff. Obviously, you can go into as many conversations as you want with the thought that I'm just going to kill these people, whether it's just a chat with a merchant or not. You can just go in, and I'm assuming you can just hit anyone you want, which is kind of the current, the modern RPG thing, isn't it? Like in Skyrim, you can just hack and slash anybody you want.
Can't kill anyone.
No, that's true. You can't.
If they're related to story, they just go prone on the floor and then get up.
Yeah, that's true. It's like when Josh Mallet played Dark Souls and he just killed every single NPC in the game.
Oh yeah, that was great. No, you might want something from him. Oh,
yeah,
he's dead.
I've already killed him, mate. So it sounds like it's going to be a very RPG heavy game, and if you wanted to, you could spend most of the game just chatting to people and not necessarily getting into that many fights. And I like that option is there, but I still want to know that shooting a gun and running around, and and even stuff like the AI in fights, how smart are they going to be, and all that sort of thing. Like, are they going to possess all the similar abilities that I can possess, whether all the cybernetic implants and all of that sort of stuff? It's exciting to find all that stuff out. And I think you've mentioned before that you've almost intentionally not watched too much, because you want a lot of it to be a surprise. And for me, that area, the fighting, is going to be that big surprise.
Yeah, definitely. We've sort of got an idea of the world and the vehicles and the weapon types and the sort of aesthetic, if you like. But actual knees deep in gameplay, that's 2 knees deep in gameplay.
2 knees deep. Okay, yeah, sure. Thanks for the clarification. I needed that.
Yeah, is sort of an unknown, because I've avoided watching anything else. But I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to be. Hopefully, it will be more satisfying than, I mean, the Elder Scrolls combat was always sort of not attack on, but like a means to an end rather than the soul of those games. They were always quite, you always felt like you were just whimming and whamming and wazzling rather than actually like in a fight for your life, just slapping your sword around.
Yeah. It's like in like the I was going to say Hyrule, in the Dynasty Warrior games, they're a hack and slash in the way that you for the most part, you're massively overpowered versus all the hundreds of infantry, and you can literally just hack and slash and just do that. But in Skyrim, you kind of feel like you should be able to do that as well, but it's just doesn't feel that great to hack and slash in Skyrim because it's so slow and just not that great.
But it's the same thing with like Fallout. Like the shooting was never like super satisfying. It was fine, but it was like it never felt like the core of the gameplay and what the game was about. And I think this game has to do better than that. It has to feel like weapons have to have like grunt and feeling behind them. So, but we'll see. I think one of the things we talked about earlier before recording was like you were saying, is it going to feel like Call of Duty or like Destiny 2, or is it going to feel like Fallout or something like that? I genuinely don't know. Like, are we going to have a cover system where you can press? For me, it would be F or spacebar or something. It puts you against a pillar or a classic chest high wall, and are the powers and abilities just going to be like a button press, or is it going to be more intricate than that?
Yeah, it goes back to some of the stuff we were saying with Mass Effect, with the whole first-person versus third-person view sort of thing, because everything I've seen so far is very much in first-person. So I think things like that, those sort of abilities, don't really lend themselves that well to first-person view, like going into cover and that sort of stuff. So, and that sort of what makes me feel like, because it is very much first person, it's gonna be compared to a modern shooter like Call of Duty or what am I thinking? Call of Duty, Titanfall, Battlefield, Titanfall, and I guess also like Fallout. You could play first person as well. It's just about how the fluidity of it is going to feel, how maneuverable. I mean, it's hard because I've just been playing Titanfall 2, which I feel has some of the best maneuverability in a first-person shooter I've ever played, and being able to run around, slide, run on walls, and all that sort of thing is incredible. So coming to something like this, I do feel like from the Nightwires at least, it's so focused on the abilities and the guns that you use that I almost feel like they're probably going to get away with not having really cool moving mechanics by just having these mad guns that can shoot round corners, and that's going to be sort of the draw to it.
Hopefully it's not like just like standing still and shooting. I'd like it to be a bit more frenetic than that, but as long as it's satisfying, it has to be satisfying. Like the guns, you have to feel the weight, you know what I mean? There has to be like, you have to feel the impact, which recoil. Some games just have the ability to kind of do that and get that feeling across that you really did fire that weapon and there was kickback and that guy hurts now. You know what I mean? Like, some games just don't really do that, like Fallout included. So that's kind of the thing. But movement as well. Be interesting to see how it's handled, because it is a big game, and if we're able to grapple and run and sort of climb walls, slide, if all of this stuff is just like, go to town, then, oh my God. But I don't think so.
No, it might just be a case that it depends on your character class or sort of what you, because I know there are skill trees and that sort of thing. It could just be a case that you could do a run that is very much, I'm going to focus on making my character super agile and stealthy, and I can perform quick kills with a sword, whereas you could do it with a massive fat tank who can suck in a load of damage, moves really slowly, and he just fires rocket launchers. So I'm guessing it will be that sort of thing. I'm hoping so anyway.
Did you watch any of the Nightwires?
I caught a few of them. I sort of got the gist of them quite early on and got pretty bored of them, just because it was a lot of world building stuff, and it was a lot of explaining the lore, explaining where the characters come from, the different clans, the different classes, where you can start the game out, the different paths that your character V can take when they start the game, which is all really, really interesting stuff. But then there just sort of became details that I either didn't want to know yet or didn't need to necessarily know. But the
brain scanning, the brain monitoring.
That's brain dance, the weird detective mode thing. I'm gonna use that once. Exactly.
And then start shooting.
And then open up the guns. And you saw some cool stuff, like you learn about all of the different gangs that inhabit Night City, which is really cool, got to admit. But I just went into a lot of detail. So if anyone doesn't know, the Night City Wires, or whatever they were called, they were basically like a 6-part documentary series that was sort of hosted by this lovely lady called Holly that did a really good job. But it was a lot for one game. Like, I could understand it, Xbox or PlayStation doing it about the launch of a new console, but to do 6 half-an-hour episodes about one game that's coming out is a little bit of overkill. But I think the thing that I took away from it was that, wow, this world is going to be incredibly rich, incredibly deep. There's going to be loads of things that I'm going to want to explore, and it is all going to be done with a huge level of precision. And they have spent so long filling this world out, this city and its surrounding areas, with amazing things to do and find. So I guess I took that away from it, but I didn't really want to spoil it in a way, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's something I guess they did quite well, is they weren't focusing on like story spoilers or showing a lot of gameplay. They kind of handed gameplay and that sort of thing to influencers and YouTubers and that sort of thing. So if you want to go look for it, you can do so off your own back, and hopefully find someone that you like watching to sort of show you that. For me, they were just like, I didn't need this interview sort of faux documentary kind of format. I would have much preferred just 6 episodic videos on like the individual elements, more as marketing material, because this was like a half and half between hype marketing material, where it was like, I can't wait to play it, what can you tell us? Oh, I can't tell you this. And it's like, yeah, but like, we know you're making this video, so you know what I mean? It was halfway between that and like behind the scenes.
Yes.
Like, I would much prefer this. If they're going to do marketing stuff, I want that in episodic things where I can see that I'm going to be watching a video about vehicles, watching a video about the weapons, watching a video about Keanu Reeves or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But then do another series that's like behind the scenes and like do more of that stuff. And then if you're interested in the music of the game or the mocap and the world building, then just do it as a separate thing.
Yeah.
It was just a bit much. I only ended up watching 2.5 episodes and I was kind of done, to be honest.
Yeah, I sort of had them on in the background while I was cooking my tea and that sort of thing, just soaking in the vibe, but not necessarily watching it in detail every episode. I think if people want to go watch them and find out an insane amount of detail about the world and the game, it is good for that. But I think at this stage, what I want hands-on impressions about how the combat feels, or I don't need to be convinced on the game, so I don't really necessarily even need that. So I think I'm just going to wait now and see how it plays, see how it feels, that sort of thing. You're the same, really, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, as we were discussing earlier, just like it's CD Projekt Red, I really enjoyed and respected what they did with Witcher 3. It felt very different and unique, and now it's completely different again, being a first-person shooter RPG set in a futuristic cyberpunk 90s grunge 80s synthwave amalgamation. So it just sounds great.
Yeah,
it sounds amazing,
does, doesn't it? Something that the Nightwires sort of focused quite a lot of time, especially like the last 3 episodes, were just mainly about Keanu Reeves. I don't know if it's part of his contract or what, but like they got in that he's got his own motorcycle company.
Yeah.
Like they showed him singing, playing guitar. They showed him doing all his mocap. Obviously, it's a huge pull for them to get him involved in the game. And he's been all over the marketing. Like, obviously, he came out on stage at the Xbox showcase last year. He's a huge pull for people to play it because Keanu Reeves is also
Cyberpunk. No, you're breathtaking.
Breathtaking, that's it. No, you're breathtaking. Like, he is a bit of a meme.
Yes.
And I think for that reason, it's going to be really interesting to see, like, how he fits into the game, into the world, and whether or not it's a good thing for it.
Well, it's massively that Neo Matrix / John Wick violent aesthetic, isn't it? Like that's why he's a great pick for it. But whether I need him in the game or not, I don't know. Like I personally love Keanu Reeves. I think he seems like a really cool person and all the rest of it. Very he always comes across as very hardworking, and like we've seen all like the behind the scenes of John Wick, of all the training and all the martial arts.
Oh, he goes all in.
He goes all in. It's mad. So like he's got a lot of dedication and everything. Not necessarily the greatest actor in the world, but I like him as a figure. So
100%.
So like in game, like super cool. Oh, great! I get to hang out with Keanu Reeves. On the other hand, because it's a fictional world, I think it might be quite it might break my immersion, which is a bit worrying.
I hear that. I think, like you said, he isn't the greatest actor in the world, because if they wanted something that was going to serve the game as best as they could, they would have either got like a Troy Baker or someone who is a top tier voice actor, or just like an actor to mocap for it who is regarded as just an incredible actor. But I feel like Keanu, like you said, with the John Wick stuff and the Neo stuff, like he fits into this world, and he also fits into the sort of self-aware, edgy, not taking itself too seriously vibe that they seem to be showing off for Night City and Cyberpunk in general. And and that whole ridiculous combat and the tongue-in-cheek vibe that the John Wick films have it just seems to work. Well, we don't know yet, but in my head, it feels like it's going to work really, really well. So it's a good choice in that sense, but obviously, more than anything, probably, it's just a really good marketing move.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to, really. I think, was it at the Xbox event?
Yeah, it was last year's Microsoft E3, so 2019.
Yeah, and like Microsoft in the state that they were probably needed like a boost. So to have Keanu walk out and everyone go, "What the hell is Keanu?" Like, obviously that's just a great marketing thing anyway.
Oh yeah,
and then the memes of "You're breathtaking" that came out of it, like it's all it's all worked. So.
Oh God, yeah.
So,
yeah, and it will have got a load of people who wouldn't normally buy a really deep RPG game like this to probably
take a look at this. Yeah,
exactly, because Keanu Reeves is all over the marketing for it. He's literally everywhere, and like they used a picture of him for that image of them saying that the game had gone gold. Keanu's there, like he is a big part of this game. Like for a while, we weren't sure. Oh, is he just going to pop up every now and then and crack a joke? But it sounds as though he is just as much a part of this as your character is. He is in your head. So it's going to be really interesting to see like how that's treated, and also like, if it's believable. And like you said, the fact that it's Keanu Reeves doesn't just massively take you out of it. Like, why is Keanu saying all this shit in my head? It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But ultimately, it's kind of cool, and hopefully it doesn't break my immersion too much.
Yeah. Well, we can only hope. The main thing is, in all aspects, hopefully it is a good game, and because they did The Witcher 3, we can only assume that it's going to be freaking sweet, and I'm so ready to get 2 toes deep into this game.
Specifically 2. Nice. Weird.
Yeah. So how...
go on.
I was going to say... How do you I mean, this is an obvious question. Are you going to be playing it on PC?
I've just bought the fridge that can run Skyrim, so I'm gonna. No.
Oh, sick!
No,
the Samsung fridge, nice one.
PC, obviously.
Yeah,
it's gonna be mouse and keyboard. with it being an RPG, menuing obviously is a dream with a mouse, provided it has proper mouse control.
Yes.
And also just first-person shooters, mouse and keyboard. Can't beat it.
Yeah.
In terms of the specs, like they have the minimum and the recommended. But it's a bit of a weird place at the moment because it is very much a cross-gen game and cross-platform with it being on so many consoles.
Don't forget Stadia.
Yeah. So for my computer, I'm bang on around what would be required for high. And obviously I think there's ultra, and I don't know if it goes above ultra. So I think I'm like on high / just below high. So hopefully it'll look sweet enough at 2K and still be impressive and run really nice. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But if there's a next gen patch at some point that I don't know what they'll plan to do, whether it's ray tracing support or enhanced texture packs and all this sort of thing, I don't think I'll bother. I think that would require an upgrade on my part to really leverage that, because I'm already sort of just hovering around that high point, and I think adding anything like that would probably just drop it down to like medium or below. And like if it's pretty enough, it's pretty enough, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they've been working on it for 7 years, it better be.
Exactly. And even though it is it's a really new game, at the end of the day it is now a last gen game, in that it's going to look amazing, but you'd like to think that after all these years, it's just going to be a great game no matter how it looks. Obviously you want it to look great, but it's going to be insane.
So on that question, are you gonna wait to get a Series X, or are you getting one just before, or are you playing on?
So
Xbox?
I'm not going to have an Xbox Series X when this comes out, and I'm probably now not going to have one until next year, just because of money and Christmas, and stock as well is not looking like it'll be a thing. So I'm going to start it on Xbox One. And see how it looks, see how it runs. I'm sure load times will be an absolute joy on that old fella, on that 7-year-old console. God, I know, right? But a really good thing is that they are doing cross save and to next gen. So if I start it on Xbox One, similar to what I'm going to do with Red Dead Redemption 2, I can then finish it on the Xbox Series X. So that'll be really, really great, and will completely change my gameplay experience, I'm sure, when I don't have to sit for 5 minutes just to fast travel. And also there's going to be a sort of free next-gen update for Xbox Series X and PS5, so that you don't have to buy a new copy of the game. If you already bought it on the old generation, they'll sort of upgrade it for you and optimize it and everything. So that'll be really good. It's just a case of when I can get a flipping Xbox Series X. But I'm sure it will work fine. I managed to run Witcher 3 fine on it, and that was okay. This is going to be slightly more technically advanced, but we'll see. I'll have to let you know on that one.
But basically Xbox One, and then when you do eventually get it, if you haven't completed it or you're going to play it again,
jump over. I'm going to take my time with this game, man. I'm not going to rush anything. I'm going to search every nook and cranny. I'm going to be, as always, I'm going to be the paragon of virtue. I'm going to be an absolute sweet boy running around this place, being nice to everyone, only getting in a fight if I have to. And speaking of that, obviously we don't know. Yeah. We don't know much about the game yet. We know a certain amount. Have you had any sort of inklings about how you're going to go about it? Whether you're going to be a pacifist, whether you're going to be an all-out attack boy, whether you're going to be a stealthy fella? What are your thoughts currently?
The great thing is that I have none whatsoever.
Great.
Which is one of the things I'm kind of hyped about, because I've been quite placid across these whole few months. When it got delayed, I was just like, cool, well, whatever. And I just haven't really taken in a lot of material. Yeah. Partially because I don't want to be sitting there going, when's it coming out? And jitters. Yeah. Jitters. But also just because I just don't, I am kind of going in with no expectations, to be honest with you. And it's the same in terms of my gameplay style. I think it's going to be very informed by the way things look and feel when I'm in the game, rather than thinking, oh, actually, I really like stealth gameplay, I'm definitely doing that. I'm not really going in with that approach. I'm just going to see what the character creators like, sort of help that will inform a lot of my decisions from there on in, and what I imagine this guy will play like and do. And
also, how the game feels, and like what you think feels good, like what aspects of the gameplay, the combat you enjoy, and then I suppose you sort of tailor your character around that, really.
Yeah. What about you?
I mean, like I said, first things first, I'm gonna be a sweet boy. Like, I'm gonna be nice to everyone I meet. But in terms of like, the combat, like, who knows really? I think it just depends how these guns feel. Like, I do like the idea of running around with a samurai sword. I can't deny that. But it's just whether or not this melee combat is going to feel good. Obviously, that was something that was a bit of an issue for them. So we'll see that how that feels. And also, like, this might sound stupid, but it's like also massively depends like what the level design is like, and like what sort of, verticality. Like, from gameplay that I've seen, a lot of the combat seems to happen like indoors in like corporate looking buildings and like mob hideouts and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of that stuff does massively. Like, it doesn't, from what I've seen, it doesn't look like the kind of game that I'm going to be doing lots of sniping, but I might be totally wrong. Because it's a huge sprawling city, so you might actually be able to go up to a rooftop and see someone on the other side of the city and snipe them, which obviously sounds like a really cool idea. So I don't really know much about that.
If I can do the kind of thing where I'm essentially Iron Man and I don't really have to lift a finger, I can just initiate some sort of targeting and just take everyone down with a click. I'll probably do that. But otherwise, we'll see.
I mean, while that would accomplish what you want, it doesn't sound very fun.
No, that sounds great.
Okay, the easy way out. It's funny. Like, I feel like we could be a lot more informed about this game, just because there are videos out there now about people's impressions. There's lots of gameplay out there, but we've intentionally not gone and watched loads of that, and we've probably said a load of stuff that's just flat out wrong in this episode. I'm just so excited to be surprised. I'm so excited to find out what my way of playing is. And even just by watching gameplay videos or walkthroughs or people's impressions, that can influence the way that you're going to play it. And I agree with you. I do just want to make that character, see how that feels, and that's going to dictate the way I play. All I know is I'm going to be calling them Tinty.
Ah, brilliant.
That's if you can even give them a name, because I know they keep calling the main character V.
Oh, that's true. He'll have to be Vinty. And I'll have to be Vondo.
Yeah, that's a shame, because you couldn't rename Geralt, could you? But then again, that's based on books. But this is based on a board game, isn't it? Or like a Dungeons and Dragons sort of thing called CyberPunk.
Yeah, probs.
Anyway, I feel like because of our limited knowledge, and because we've shied away from being too read up about the game, I feel like we've probably reached a bit of a limit. All that we do know is that we hope that it's the best game ever made.
Yeah, we weren't here to spout facts. This is just adding to the excitement machine, and after a 7-year-long wait for a game we purposefully don't know a lot about. In a weird way.
Yeah, exactly.
Enough about that I know that I want it, but not enough that it's already spoilt for me and I know it's going to be really good or really bad either way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just fun as well, just to like speculate if we're gonna enjoy it, and also just to talk about what we sort of hope it's going to be like, because all we've got to base it on really in terms of the enjoyment factor is The Witcher, but this is such a vastly obviously it could be more different, but it is insanely different to The Witcher, and it's almost like, wait, these two games were made by the same people. And I always rate it when developers can do that, can just take a massive turn and be like, holy crap, this is the same people. Because stuff like Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls and Fallout, there is a lot of shared DNA there, isn't there? A huge amount of shared DNA. Obviously, they're very different worlds, but just everything from like the way the menus work, the way the character development works, loads of stuff like that. It's like, well, you can tell this is shared DNA. I'm just looking forward to being hugely surprised.
Should we end it there then?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's call it a day there, mate. I think we've probably talked Cyberpunk to absolute death.
Yeah. Episode 21. Thank you so much for listening. Again, here's that email, pushingbuttonspod@gmail.com if you want to email us about anything to do with
Emotion.
Emotion. I was going to say I don't know what I was going to say. I just combined two things and emotion.
Emotion.
Yeah, anyway, email us anything about Cyberpunk that sort of intrigues you and that you're excited for.
Yes.
Anything we didn't mention that isn't a spoiler.
Let us know if you might be someone who never plays these kind of games, but something about Cyberpunk has turned your head and maybe you think, hey, I'm going to give it a go. Maybe that's Keanu Reeves. Who knows? Just let us know your thoughts and feelings about it and what you thought of what we said.
Yeah. And also about last week's episode, Mass Effect, and we were discussing whether we want a prequel, sequel, all that good stuff. We want your Mass Effect opinions as well. So chuck that in an email.
I don't know if you saw, but Lawal said he's well up for the detective game set in the Citadel.
Oh, yeah. I saw that on Twitter.
I mean,
Luke, if you're listening, we need to make this game, basically.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Everyone wants it. I would hugely love it. It sounds great, man. Let's make it
so much fun.
Make sure you follow us on social media, please. We have Twitter at PB Podcast UK, and we're on Instagram at Pushing Buttons Pod. Give us a follow on there. Come say hi. Tag us in posts when you want to be the next MVL.
And if you want to listen to the podcast, which if you're hearing this, you already are doing, so well done, you found us. We've had a change where we're available on. So
we have.
So there's don't worry, all the big ones are still there. But now we are now available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and Radio Public.
That is correct. Thank you, Mark.
So there you go. I don't really know what Anchor and Radio Public are. Well, I do know what Anchor are, but Radio Public, not so sure about.
No. Yeah, well, maybe people could go have a look, search Radio Public, see what it's all about, find our podcast on there, and come back to us and say, oh, yeah, Radio Public, man. It's a good one.
But if you're one of those people with Google Home that were thinking, oh, that's a shame. We're on there now. Woohoo!
Yeah! Yeah, you can ask Google to play us.
Stitcher and Deezer have gone, I'm afraid.
Yes, so apologies to anyone who used
definitely
those two.
Didn't use those two.
But no, I don't know anyone that did. But please check us out. Leave us a review and all of that sort of stuff.
Please.
Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. All our episodes are up there. Please go give them a like and all of the such. We're hoping to do some more streaming soon, and hopefully we'll be guesting on the Video Games Chat podcast very soon. The boys over at VGC. So give them a follow as well to keep a lookout for us appearing on their podcast.
I believe that will be next week. I'm not sure what their schedule is, but the time you're listening, it will be next week, I think. But don't quote me on
Sumptuous. Yeah, we'll let people know as soon as it does happen. But for now, I think that concludes episode 21, the legal drinking age in America. We've made it. It is the end of the episode. Thank you for listening. We share you lots of good. We send you lots of goodwill and many joyous emotions. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. God damn it.
Goodbye.
Bye. That's a great ending.
Please keep in that. God damn it.
Try to compare yourself to Joe Anderson. Joe Anderson, 'cause he is nice.